Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another end of the year highlights video. Um, this isn't the first one I've done, basically, the world is a very scary place, and there are a lot of really scary and messed up things going on in the world right now. So, the point of these videos is to just sort of talk about the highlights. Again, like, this year, I'll be honest, this year wasn't very good, but there are still some things that, some glimmers of light in what this crazy year, that I do want to talk about today. So, yeah, but again, I just want to talk about the highlights, just be positive because, again, like this year wasn't very great, but it's always good to be positive. It's always good to just have a positive outlook on life, just like try to look at things like, you know, just having a good like positive output because again like the world, a lot of scary stuff is going on, but like again let's look at the positives. Let's not ignore the negatives. Let's pay very close attention to the bad things that are going on, but you know it's not always a bad thing to just step away from the negatives and talk about the good things that have happened. So yeah. So again, just like all my other previous end of the year highlights videos, this video will be a podcast type video. So like don't expect any like edits on screen. This is more so just for like to have this on in the background while like you do, I don't know, like work or whatever. Have it on the background when you're eating or doing something. Just background noise. But also I do want to talk about some things. So this is just me blabbering for however long this video is. They're usually like 20-30 minutes. So yeah, I don't really have a lot else to say, so let's just get right into this. So the first thing I want to talk about is Jurassic World Evolution 3, which is a great game. Well, to be fair, I haven't really gotten very far in it, so I can't really say for sure if it's like great or not. Ever since it came out, like October, November, and December have all been just pretty busy months for me, so I haven't really had time to play the game. But from what I've played, I do think it's a very fun game. Um, I think it's a little unnecessary, if I'm being honest. I think like, Jurassic World Evolution, like the first game when that came out, this is like a new like park building game, that we haven't gotten since like Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. And, that was like exciting because like people have been wanting this for such a long time. And when it came out, it felt a little underbaked, but like towards the end of its life, they did add a lot of things and a lot of patches to make it like better. And then Jurassic World Evolution 2 came out, which is better, but I feel like a lot of the things that they added in Jurassic World Evolution 2, I feel like that could have been like an update. I think Jurassic World Evolution should have been like Fortnite, where it doesn't really get sequels, it just gets like just updates as the years go by, because Fortnite came out in like 2018. I don't play Fortnite, so I'm probably like I don't understand how Fortnite works. But like Fortnite came out like a while ago, and they've just been consistently adding like cross promotions and just stuff like that. And I feel like Jurassic World Evolution should have been that. And again, I like Jurassic World Evolution 2, but it just feels a little unnecessary. And Jurassic World Evolution 3, like, again, like, it's fun, but I feel like a lot of this, like, this all could have been added to the first game. Again, just like, adding content, like Fortnite. But I digress. But I haven't played a lot of it, but from what I've played, it is really good. I do like it a lot. Some things I do want to talk about, though. There are some missing skins. Some of the skins for some of the dinosaurs have been completely removed, which is very upsetting, in some cases, one of which being the 2001, like, Jurassic Park 3 Pteranodon, which, to be fair, that design isn't really perfect. That Pteranodon design has teeth when Pteranodon literally means like toothless wing. So it's just, you know, a little bit, but like I definitely prefer that design over the Jurassic World Pteranodon. And the one that bugs me the most is the 1997 skin for the Stegosaurus that's also just gone. Instead we just have the Jurassic World Stegosaurus, and it's like, why couldn't you include this? Because the other dinosaurs, right? Like, the T-Rex, you have, like, the 93 skin, the 97 skins, and, like, the 2001 skins. And even, like, all the Jurassic World skins, like the Velociraptor, you have, like, the Jurassic Park Raptors, the Lost World Raptors, and everything. Like, a lot of the dinosaurs that were in, like, the older movies have, like, their skins, but for some reason, they just Stegosaurus, no, we're not doing that. And that's really disappointing. Whenever I make a park and I add Stegosauruses to it, like, I always use the 1997 skin. And again, the fact that it's not there is pretty upsetting. For the most part, like, a lot of the new dinosaur designs in this game are not like dinosaurs, but like extinct animals. I think they look good for the most part. The pterosaurs are missing membranes in the wings. So usually with like the wings on pterosaurs, like usually it's like a thin piece of skin that goes from like, where the wings, like the base of the wings, all the way to like the feet. And in Jurassic World Evolution 3, they just kind of stop at the waist, so it looks noticeably weird. You know, and it's like little things like that. But overall, like a lot of the newer dinosaur designs I think looks great, of like the extinct like reptiles and everything like that. And overall, like everything's good. Jurassic World Evolution 3 I think is a good game. Do I think all the content added could have been like, updated to Evolution 2 or even Evolution 1? Maybe. I don't think this like series needed to be like a trilogy, but it is what it is. Still, I do like Jurassic World Evolution 3. Walking with Dinosaurs 2. Now, this one, I didn't watch it, but from what I've heard, it's not very good. Which, I just want to talk about this. Because when they announced it, a lot of people got excited. Because this is Walking with Dinosaurs 2. A sequel, or a supposed sequel, to arguably one of the most famous dinosaur documentaries of all time. Right? Calling it Walking with Dinosaurs 2. And even the people who worked on the show, right, they went ahead and said, like, oh, this is going to be much bigger, much bigger than Prehistoric Planet. And, like, Prehistoric Planet is huge, right? Like, as a dinosaur documentary, like, Prehistoric Planet is massive. Like, the CGI in Prehistoric Planet is, like, almost photorealistic. So it's like, if you're saying this is going to be bigger than Prehistoric Planet, that is insane. And then the trailer started to come out. And it didn't look bad, but it definitely wasn't Prehistoric Planet levels. And again, from what I've heard, the show itself, it just does a lot of like weird things and just, yeah, it could have been a lot better from what I've heard. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really give my thoughts on the matter, but that is just something I want to talk about because it's like, okay, yeah. I like the new T-Rex design. I think it looks leagues better than the original Walking with Dinosaurs T-Rex design, from what I've seen. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, all this talk, like, I was expecting a little more compared to what I've seen. So, again, I haven't seen it. I can't stress this enough. I can't really give my thoughts entirely, but from, like, what I have seen and what I've heard, it's like, yikes. I know I said I try to keep these videos positive, but, like, I feel like in this case, I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like, just, I think it's something that's worth talking about. Speaking of Prehistoric Planet has gotten its third season this year, that being based on the Ice Age. And Prehistoric Planet Season 3, I think, is really good. I like it a lot. I think it's on par with the first two seasons. I think they're great. Though I will say I do really miss David Attenborough's narration here. Off the top of my head, I forget who does the narration. He does a fine job, but like David Attenborough, like, I'm sorry, he's like undoubtedly like one of the best like nature documentary like narrators, but I digress. But Prehistoric Planet Season 3 is great. Now moving on to the tokusatsu side of my channel. Shin Godzilla got re-released in theaters this year, which, Shin Godzilla was one of the most, like, influential, like, movie theater experiences I've had growing up. So, getting to see it again in theaters, I felt, it was really cool. I never thought they'd re-release it in theaters, but they did, and I was very happy about that. Though I would have waited a year, because this year Shin Godzilla turns 9, and I feel like it would have been a golden opportunity to release Shin Godzilla for its 10th anniversary next year, which, more on that later. But, it is what it is. It's still great to see Shin Godzilla in theaters. So, yeah, that was really cool. This year was Gamera's 60th anniversary. And I feel like it went about as well as it possibly could have. Now, one thing I want to talk about, in my review for Gamera Rebirth, I talked about how Katakawa, the company that owns Gamera, they don't really care about Gamera. They don't want to do anything with Gamera. And like when they did do something with Gamera, it was like bottom of the barrel, like, you know, poor animation for Gamera Rebirth and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, that is actually not entirely true. So all this information I'm about to talk about, this comes from Twitter user at Correct Nansu. You know, this person has gone to, you know, a bunch of like events surrounding Gamera, and even got to talk with the director of Gamera Rebirth. So this is like real information. This isn't just like, oh, he said, she said. This is like, this comes from the director of Gamera Rebirth, someone who's like, you know, who's worked for Katakawa. And the thing with Katakawa is that they want to do more with Gamera, but the problem like the Gamera franchise faces is like securing budgets. So the way Katakawa functions as a company, you know, it functions as like multiple like different companies under one. You know, I don't know like what else Katakawa owns, but I know they own like Daiei Studios, which is the original founder of the Gamera series, and just like a bunch of other like, you know, companies. And again, like trying to secure budgets for, you know, each like, you know, company is like a little tougher. So Katakawa just works kind of weirdly, and just like all it, like it's a process, right? And I'm probably like botching a lot of this information, but like there are like a lot of like complications with like budgets and stuff like that for the Gamera franchise. Gamera Rebirth almost got canceled because of like, you know, things got kind of strict at certain points. So, you know, again, it's one of those things where it's like Katakawa wants to do more with Gamera. They're open to do more with Gamera. It's just the way they function and like securing budgets for various different things. Like it's just tricky for them, you know. But what we did get, you know, I think again, I think Gamera's 60th anniversary went as well as it probably could have. One of the cool things that happened this year, Gamera Rebirth started airing on the NHK network in Japan, and it was like edited down to be like 12 episodes instead of 6 like on Netflix. And it's cool, you know. It's not, even though it didn't do very well, it is really cool to see Gamera Rebirth get some more love, you know, being aired on NHK television. So that was really cool. There was the Gamera Expo. This is like convention, not convention, but like museum sort of thing where they had like all of, like the different Gamera props from like the Heisei Gamera trilogy and just like a bunch of other stuff just like on display. You know, all of the Heisei Gamera suits have been like restored and they were on display. The Gamera the Brave suit, you know, for Toto, that was on display, and just a lot of like really cool stuff that was like on display, and it was really cool. Obviously, I couldn't go to it because that was in Japan and I live in America, but I have seen videos about it, and from what I've seen, like it did look really cool, and that is something that I would have absolutely loved to check out. But again, I live in America, so that's a little tough for me. We did get some cool merch. Back in October, they released this like Showa era like behind the scenes book of like all of the Showa era Gamera movies, and had a lot of like pictures that were never seen. I got that book. I was able to get that book from Hobby Link Japan, and again, I can't really read it, but you know, like looking at all the pictures and stuff, like it's really cool. So I'm glad about that. You know, we got they announced like this little set of like Gamera 3 like Gashapon figures, which I'm definitely gonna get at some point. I have the ones from Gamera's 1 and 2 that came out like 5 years ago for Gamera's 55th anniversary. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna get the Gamera 3 ones. We got a repaint of the SH Monster Arts Gamera 1996, which I didn't get. I still have my original copy that I got back in 2022, which admittedly I'm a little salty for spending over $200 on something that was going to get re-released like a few years later for like 120 or so. But still, I have it, so I didn't really feel obligated to get that repaint. We also got the SH Monster Arts Legion, which was $560. Like, there is no way I'm paying for that. I'm sorry. I refuse. It looks like a cool figure, but that's a lot of money. You know, like when it comes to collecting figures, you know, I don't mind spending like a little bit extra money, but like $500, like no way that's not happening. Um yeah. And one thing I want to talk about, no new Bandai Movie Monster Series Gamera figures this year, which is pretty upsetting, you know. obviously, like in 2023, we got the stuff for Gamera Rebirth, and then they released the movie Monster Series Gamera 1965 and movie Monster Series Gyaos 1967. And the thing that sucks is that they just stopped. They just haven't made more. It would have been really cool if they made because the other thing that they did, they actually restored all of the Showa era Gamera movies, or the first three in 4K. So it would have been like a really neat opportunity if they made like a movie monster series like Barugun, or a movie monster series Gamera 1996 or 1967 from Gamera versus Gyaos, but they didn't. And it's a little disappointing because like last year, I get it, Bandai, like it was Godzilla's 70th anniversary, and obviously like Bandai needs to celebrate that, but we got like no movie monster series stuff this year for Gamera, and it's a little disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. You know, so this is something that was announced. So back in November, a day after Gamera's the day of Gamera's 65th anniversary, the Gamera Rebirth Twitter announced a mysterious crowdfunding project that would get revealed more in December. As of me recording this, it is currently January 1st in Japan, and we have gotten nothing since. The only thing that we got was from the official Gamera Twitter, where they said, "Thank you so much for your continued support. We look forward to your continued support next year into 2026, where we will be continuing to celebrate Gamera's 60th anniversary," which, I mean, is cool, but what happened to that crowdfunding thing? I don't get it. I don't know where it is, but, maybe they'll announce it in January or sometime later down the road. I don't know, but, yeah. Arguably, one of the biggest things to happen to the Gamera franchise, and something that I am very excited about, for the first time, well, obviously first time, but after 3 years, Gamera is finally in Giga Bash. Giga Bash came out in 2022, and they released the Godzilla DLC, which, neat. And then they said, the guy, Gormaro Island, he promotes the game on Twitter. He said, what else do you guys want to see? And he implied, Ultraman, Gamera. It's like, dude, this opens the floodgates, absolutely. And then we got Ultraman, and then the next year, we were all expecting Gamera, and then it wasn't Gamera. And it was just a big, cycle, Gamera for Giga Bash. That was trending on Twitter. And as of November 20th, we finally have Gamera in Giga Bash. And I'm very excited about that. I'll be 100% honest and say it's based on Gamera Rebirth. And I like Gamera Rebirth. In fact, I rewatched it recently, and I think it's a very solid show, minus the art style. I like Gamera Rebirth, but as far as Giga Bash goes, I would have preferred, Gamera 1999 as the base Gamera, because last year they put out a poll asking, which incarnation of Gamera would you guys want invited to Giga Bash? And the options were Gamera 1999, Gamera 2023, and Gamera 1967. And Gamera 1999 won that poll. I voted for Gamera 1999. And I was really expecting that to be the base of, Gamera in Giga Bash. And unfortunately, it was not. Which, again, nothing against, the devs. Nothing personal, of course. And I do like Gamera Rebirth. And Gamera, I think, is, controls very well in Giga Bash. But, I'm not gonna lie, there's a little part of me that would have preferred if Gamera 1999 was the basis for this Gamera DLC pack, and maybe have Iris or Gyaos 1995. But either way, we do have Gamera Giga Bash, which is something I've been wanting for a very long time. So yeah, I'm happy. Maybe we'll get some more Heisei stuff later down the road, maybe. But if we were to get a Wave 2 of Gamera DLC, it would be based on Gamera Rebirth, which, again, cool, but I think some love for the movies would have been really nice too. Speaking of Giga Bash, Mecha Jirass is now playable on Giga Bash as free DLC, which was a really nice surprise. So Mecha Jirass is this this stage hazard for one of the maps, and plays a pretty decent role in the story of Giga Bash as well. And they added Mecha Jirass as a free playable fighter, as free DLC, which was really cool. A nice little thing to hold us over for what would have become the Gamera Rebirth DLC. Apparently, from what I've heard, it was supposed to be Pacific Rim, but they couldn't get the rights because of everything that's going on at Warner Bros. Right now, which, I mean, like, it's tough. I like Pacific Rim. I think it's a great movie, but, like, yeah, I don't know, like, would it have been cool? Sure, but I'm happy with Mecha Girass. Plus, we got Gamera and Gigabash, which is all I really wanted, if I'm being honest. It would be cool if we got some like, Godzilla Toho kaiju. I feel like, Rodan 1956 and Mothra 1961, I think would be, like, a cool excuse to have a non-Godzilla Toho back, because those are standalone, like, movies. They have nothing to do with Godzilla. But I think that would have been cool, or that would be cool to see in Gigabash. And even some Ultra Kaiju. Ultraman turns 60 next year, so I feel like next year, I think that would be a golden opportunity to do something like that, but I digress. Smiling Friends Season 3 dropped this year, and I really liked it. I thought Smiling Friends, I really like Smiling Friends. I think it's a great show, and Season 3 is no exception. It's just the same, like, great humor, the same, like, just great storytelling, and overall, like, Season 3 is great. And so is Season 1 and 2. Everything is great. So I do really like Smiling Friends. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD came out on the Switch earlier this year. You know, um, it's Donkey Kong Country Returns. It's a great game. It's really nice to have it on my console. It's nice that I don't have to bust it out on the Wii and play, like, the nunchucks, or, like, play it on the 3DS. It is nice to have it, like, officially on the Switch. So now the Nintendo Switch has all 5 of the Donkey Kong Country games. A lot of people were complaining about the price tag, and okay, yeah, maybe it was a little too expensive for what it was, but I'm happy. I was happy with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. But little did I know that that was just an appetizer for something bigger coming this year. Granted, I didn't think it would come this year, but Donkey Kong Country Returns HD was the appetizer. The Nintendo Switch 2 dropped, and I like it. I think it's a nice upgrade. Like, it runs Switch 1 games beautifully, and I'm happy with it. Is it expensive? Yeah, it's like $450, but again, it's a nice upgrade for, the first Switch. You can actually run games that ran like doo-doo on Switch Run. Like, they run really well on Switch 2, and I'm happy with my upgrade. Now, Donkey Kong Bonanza, the first, like Donkey Kong game, like, standalone Donkey Kong game, not like spin-offs or anything like that, no, like, DLC for, like, the Mario plus Rabbids thing. From the ground up, a brand new Donkey Kong game for the first time in 11 years. Wow. I'm going to talk about some spoilery stuff, so if you don't want to get spoiled, I mean, click off, but the game has been out for a while now, so if you haven't heard about what happens in the game, that's kind of your fault. But first of all, I want to talk about DK's redesign. I thought it was unnecessary, but I do like Donkey Kong's new design. He's very expressive in Bonanza, and I really like that. And Bonanza as a whole is, like, the controls are great, the music is phenomenal, the gameplay is really fun, everything. Donkey Kong Bonanza, very small things that I don't like, but, like, very small. Very, very small. Donkey Kong Bonanza, hands down, was my game of the year. But the biggest thing, and this is the spoilery stuff, the biggest thing to happen in Donkey Kong Bonanza was the return of King K. Rool and the Kremlings. Now, I got into the Donkey Kong series back in late 2015, early 2016, and I really liked all the characters and, like Donkey Kong Country. I liked the world building that it established. And I found out that Nintendo had stopped using K. Rool for Returns and Tropical Freeze. And I was a little, I didn't care that much, but I didn't know, Nintendo, they were, not shelving K. Rool, but just, stepping away from K. Rool. And that upset me a little bit, because I really liked K. Rool, And then he got into Smash Ultimate, and I was very excited about that. And when Donkey Kong Bonanza was announced, at first, it seemed like he wasn't going to be in the game, right? It seemed like, I like the new villains, like the Void Co. with, Void Kong, Poppy Kong, Grumpy Kong. I think they're great. Definitely some of the best, DK villains, after K. Rool, of course, that we've gotten. But, there's a little part of me that was like, damn, I was really hoping K. Rool would be in this game. But then you look at the marketing, and there are just little things that make you look over your shoulder and just think, like, something ain't right here. Sure enough, the game drops, and King K. Rool is not only in the game, but he plays a very prominent role towards the end. Like, at first, like, they're very quiet about it. But, like, I won't go into too much details, but, like, once K. Rool is introduced, like, it is just nonstop, just like, King K. Rool and the Kremling's just in your face, you know? And even, like, there are, like, new animations for, like, the Kremlings and King K. Rool in the Nintendo Today app. There's one where K. Rool, like, slaps his belly like he doesn't, like, well, not like he doesn't Smash Ultimate, but, like, like, stuff like that. Like, he gets, like, his own, like, new animation. Um, and there's, like, an animation where Diddy Kong, like, jumps on, like, a Kremling's head. And just stuff like that. And, like, I genuinely think that we're going to be seeing a lot more K. Rool in the future. Obviously, they're going to want to, like, just let, like, Donkey Kong Bonanza just, like, sit for a little bit before they talk about, like, spoilery stuff. But, like, I think, like, we're going to see K. Rool. I have a good feeling we're going to see K. Rool and more Mario spin-offs. I think we're going to see more, like, more stuff. If Jack Specific made a King K. Rool figure, I would buy multiple, right? And, yeah, so I do think we're going to see a lot more of K. Rool in the future. When we see K. Rool, I don't know, but I do think that it is a very safe bet that we will see King K. Rool more in the future. If I did have one negative about Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think the paid DLC, like, from what I've heard, it is worth, like, the $20, but, like, it's $20, and it just adds, like, a new map, a new game mode, and, like, more stuff to unlock, which I feel like at most it should have been, like, 10, maybe 15. 20 is pushing it a little bit, I'll get it eventually, but for right now, I don't have it yet. And yeah, but besides that, Donkey Kong Bonanza was a religious experience for me. This is the kind of game I have been hoping for a very long time. Like, even like my older year highlights videos, I talked about, like, when's the next Donkey Kong game? When's the next Donkey Kong game? Or include King K. Rool in the next Donkey Kong game. And it happened, and it happened in the best way possible. So Donkey Kong Bonanza, game of the year for me, and again, was just a religious experience that if I could go back in time to experience, like, Blind again, I would do that. Granted, K. Rool got spoiled for me, which was a little annoying, but I was just happy to see K. Rool in Donkey Kong Bonanza. So, yeah, that was the one thing I was really hoping for. And again, like, Donkey Kong Bonanza, game of the year. I love that game so much, right? And that's pretty much it for the highlights of 2025. Now, for 2026, what do we have in store? 2026 will be the year of Mothra, celebrating Mothra's 65th anniversary, as well as celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, which I hear mixed things about. I hear that some people like them, but I hear some people don't like them very much, very mixed. So, like, I haven't seen them, so I can't really give my thoughts, but apparently, like, they are going to do stuff with, like, the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, which is cool. And I do like the original 1961 Mothra, so, yeah, I think that'll be a cool thing to see. Rodan's 70th anniversary is next year. Rodan's debut movie, well, Rodan, came out in 1956, so, yeah, so hopefully they celebrate it. Hopefully, at least the movie monster series Rodan 1956, that would be really cool. But I digress. Shin Godzilla's 10th anniversary is next year. God, I'm getting old. I was a sophomore in high school when Shin Godzilla came out, and now it's like, it's gonna turn 10 next year. Like, oh, I think I just died a little inside. Yeah, so Godzilla Minus Zero is also supposedly coming out next year. I know there's no confirmed, like, release date. I did hear that they were aiming for 2026, but, anything could happen. So, supposedly, we are getting Godzilla Minus Zero, which I feel like will be a good movie. Ultraman's 60th anniversary is next year. So they were kind of starting to celebrate it this year. So I can imagine next year being, like, big. If they're, like, starting to celebrate it this year, the next year, I have a feeling it's going to be huge, but I digress. Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal Season 3 is coming out on January 11th. I wasn't too crazy about Season 2. Season 1, I was obsessed with. I absolutely loved Season 1 of Primal. Season 2, I wasn't really as hyped for. And for this one, like, I'll check it out, but I'm not as excited about Primal as I used to be. You know, Donkey Kong's 45th anniversary is also next year, which, I mean, we just got, like, a 10 out of 10, like, platformer this year in the form of Donkey Kong Bonanza. So, like, if they don't do anything for Donkey Kong's 40th anniversary next year, then, like, honestly, like, they should. But, like, again, we have Donkey Kong Bonanza, so I can't really, like, complain at all. But, you know, it'd be cool if we got something. You never know, though. We could get something, but we also might not get anything. Sonic the Hedgehog, it is the 35th anniversary next year, which hopefully we get a new good game. You know, good being the keyword there. I didn't play Frontiers. Shadow Generations is okay, and I haven't played the new racing game that came out. I doubt the game, well, I mean, we're definitely going to get a new Sonic game for the 35th anniversary. You know, I hope it's great. Truly great. Because all of the past Sonic games since, everything after Mania to me has just felt like, okay, like, whatever. Like, okay to mediocre. So, hopefully we get a genuinely great game for Sonic's 35th anniversary this year. But we'll just have to wait and see. The 1986 Transformers movie turns 45 this year, which, no, it turns 40 this year. It would be great if they re-released that movie in theaters. The past couple times they did so, I missed it. So it would be nice if they released it in theaters so I could go watch it. And lastly, we are getting the Mario Galaxy movie, which I never played Mario Galaxy. You know, I wasn't really, like, huge into Mario when I was a kid. I was, like, you know, mostly, I was a Sonic kid growing up, so I wasn't, like, super into Mario. There are Mario games that I like. You know, I really like Super Mario World, Mario Odyssey, Mario 3D World, you know, and, like, stuff like that. You know, I do like Mario, but it's not really my favorite thing. And again, I never really played Mario Galaxy, so I don't really have, like, a connection to it, but I'll still check it out. You know, speaking of movies, though, Donkey Kong, copyright claim for a Donkey Kong movie by Universal was trademarked earlier this year, which, that makes me very excited. I will see a Donkey Kong movie in a heartbeat. Make sure King K. Rool is the villain in it, and I'm there. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have on my list. So that's gonna about do it for today. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great New Year. You know, I hope you all had a relatively good year this year. If you didn't, you know, I hope things get better for you, and I hope things are able to sort themselves out at some point later down the road. But regardless, Happy New Year, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.